In today's video, we're gonna make something that sounds a little bit like this. Nice dark, creepy, ambient drone style track. As you can see, we have an instance of Pigments here leading us off with the new Modal Engine and the Harmonic Engine. Putting in work here with the Granular Exciter, giving us a nice deep bass for our track. Next to that, we have an instance of Vital here, putting in some work on the high end, being filtered out, modulated with a random LFO, split in stereo. Love that. Finally, we have two samples over here. One is from the Free to Use Sounds library with an instance of Infiltrator 2. I think one of the keys to dark ambient music has got to be in the processing, so we're going to go over all that and more here in today's video. Anyway, thank you for being here. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so here we are in Ableton Live 12. In today's video, we're gonna build a dark ambient track from scratch. This tutorial will be suitable for all skill levels, so feel free to follow along in any other DAW of your choice. And I'll be playing in 64 beats per minute, and I'll be playing in F minor. Now, where I thought we'd start is with Pigments and the Modal Engine and build a nice dark ambient drone to start off our track. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna grab Pigments here, and first things first, we're going to adjust our amp envelope here. And we'll adjust it to maybe 5 seconds of attack, 5 seconds of decay. Lower down your sustain to around 75% and up the release here to around 5 seconds. Now we're going to switch engine 1 from wavetable to modal, and we'll take the collision exciter out of it by turning off the volume. And then we'll change the friction exciter to granular mode and up the volume here. Go ahead and play a nice low F note. I'm just holding down a low F key here. Now what I like to do is keep the rate kind of low at the beginning so I can hear how the sound is shaping up. I'll adjust the timbre to hollow. I'll change the sample from clean to harmonic. There we go. And maybe I'll up the bass here. Adjust the warp factor to around 0.8. That's sounding good. Give it a little more volume. Maybe adjust the range here as well. I like that. So now you can change the rate from where it is to all the way to max, which is 50 Hertz. Let's go ahead and crank that thing up. There we go. I'll turn down the bass a little bit. And that's good, right? That's off to a nice start. Let's lower down our filter here. Excellent. So now let's add a little more harmonic excitement to our drone, okay? So we're gonna turn on engine 2 here and switch it from sample to harmonic. And you can adjust the depth here. You can adjust section A and B to whatever shape you like here. Maybe we'll go with signal and bipulse. There we go. Now what I like to do is change the depth here to something a little higher, maybe around 50%. Gets a little motion going in the harmonic engine. I like that. That sounded good to me. I like that. Now what we can do here, the big move, is to change the filter routing here from serial to parallel, meaning I'm going to run engine 2 through a bypass filter right here. So I can change this. I'll change the filter mix over here. There we go. Now you can modulate this. So let's go ahead and create a random source of modulation to do just that. So what I'll do is change the first random modulator. I'll up the smooth here, change the retrigger source to free running. Maybe I'll change it to unipolar by clicking on the polarity button, upping the distance, and we'll change the rate to around 1/1. Now we'll use that on that filter mix. So sometimes it's gonna go all the way bypass, sometimes not. Give us a little bit more variety there. We can use that random on the depth as well. There we go. Back in the modal engine, we can also use that on, say, the morph as well. That's good. And we can finally use that on the cutoff of the filter itself. There we go. Nice. So you can see with some simple modulation, some adjustments to these two engines, you do get a nice dark drone, very creepy vibe. Now let's add some effects. So let's come over to the effects tab here, add a multi-band compressor, take the lows down a little bit, take the mid down, up the attack, up the release, up the output. Let's add a bit crusher here. Maybe we'll use that random on the down sample for a little more harmonic excitement here. Same goes for the bit depth. Adjust your dry wet to taste. And now what I'm gonna do is add some reverb from Supermassive. Now I'm gonna use a preset from Remote Vision's Aster. This is a brand new preset pack that just came out on Material. I'll leave the link down below in the description for this. Fantastic presets on Material. So I'll grab that, Supermassive. And I like to use all my reverbs and dark ambient in insert mode, which is just the equivalent of just dropping your reverb after your synthesizer. Instead of using return tracks like I normally do, the ones above my head, I like to use them as inserts because they have a nice, rich, creamy, full sound, right, as inserts. So what we'll do is we'll open up Aster. We're gonna switch it to Dark Pallades, of course. Gotta go Dark Pallades. Oh yeah. We'll change the mix around 90%. You can adjust the lows to taste here. Around 50 Hertz is good. Oh yeah. Very nice. Now, one final step here. I'm gonna add a little bit more harmonic excitement, if you will, to really take our drone to the next level. So what I'll do, I'm actually gonna get out of the way. I'm gonna use a multi-band compressor. You can feel free to use the multi-band in your own DAW. I'm gonna use the one here in Ableton. I'll put it right before Supermassive. And what you can do is modulate the input level of the high frequencies. And you can think of a multi-band dynamics processor just like an EQ, right? It's kind of like an EQ. But with this, you can actually modulate this for a really cool effect. So what I'll do is I'll take an LFO here, put it after the multi-band dynamics. And what I'm gonna do is change the mapping from mod to remote. And then I'll lower down the depth here to around 50%. Change the rate to around, I don't know, something really slow, 0.11. And I'll change the waveform from sine to glider. Now I'll map this to the input of the high frequencies. Now you can hear that every once in a while, we're gonna get some really bright sounding harmonics here. Check that out. Oh yeah. You hear that? I like it, I like it. So with the slow LFO, it really moves into that kind of modulated territory, right? Where things are happening and changing over time. And I really like that effect. So no matter what note you have playing in the background, you're gonna get some harmonic variation that's gonna feed right into Supermassive here and Dark Pallades. Okay, excellent. We're off to a good start. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a new MIDI clip here. I'll change the color. There we go. And we'll put in scale mode. I'm gonna use the same F0 note that I've been using. Let's change the length to 32. So we'll make a 32 bar MIDI clip here. Change the fixed grid to 2 bars. I'll go ahead and just plug this low F note in. Now for some variation, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna add a couple notes here. So we'll use our pencil tool, zoom out a little bit. Maybe we'll add this note right here. Go down to the 5th, which is C, there we go. And then every once in a while, maybe we'll do this one. Oh yeah, that A sounds good there. A flat number 1, maybe this one right here. You go too high, it sounds a little bit more ambient. I wanna just kind of stick to the darkness here. Oh yeah. There we go. Excellent. All right, cool. Got a nice variation. You can see what I did there. Just kind of created a whole, you know, just a drone with some occasional notes here. And because it's so slow, we're playing at 64 beats per minute, you know, you don't really notice those changes, but over time, they compound and combine with the work that we did with the LFO over here in the device view. It sounds really good. I'm happy with that. Okay. we're off to a great start. So now, let's go ahead and rename this track. Name it Dark Drone. Now let's add some really creepy, kind of high-end material. Now you can easily do this in Vital, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. So what I'm gonna do here is grab Vital. It's a free synthesizer. You know it, you love it. And I'm gonna design my own wavetable, okay? This is really easy to do. So just click on the pencil tool here, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna right-click on this section. This is the harmonics here, and this is the phase down here underneath it. I'm just gonna right-click and hit randomize, and we'll randomize here, right-click and hit randomize on the phase. That's all we're gonna do, all right? I'll show you why. So what we'll do is we'll add another keyframe by double-clicking here in the middle, and do the same process. Randomize, randomize, and finally add one more keyframe, and randomize, and randomize. Now, it looks like not much, right? And we didn't do very much. We just randomized, 3 times, and that was it. Now what you can do though, is you can use the harmonic stretch in reverse to get some really cool effects here. Because it almost turns it into like a wavetable that you might normally draw, by doing the normal technique, right? So that's really cool. We can modulate all this, obviously. That might be cool. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm also gonna switch my filter here from low pass to high pass by changing this over here, the blend mode. Now let's create a random modulator by syncing it up, put it in stereo. I'll leave it at half notes here. That's good. And let's go ahead and just play something here. See what this sounds like. Oh yeah. We'll use that random on the position here and on the harmonic stretch. Oh yeah. Now if you play a nice low note with that high upper harmonic stuff, it really sounds good. Let's use that same random because it's split in stereo on the actual filter itself. Hear that? Now it's splitting in stereo. We're kind of getting a multi-perspective on it. I love that. We'll use this on the bend as well. Ooh, you know what we can do? Let's add some FM here for some extra noise. So we'll turn on oscillator 2, leave it as a sine wave. So what I'll do is I'll say factory basic shapes. We'll turn the level all the way down, hold that same note, and now we have an FM source coming from a invisible oscillator, if you will. It's just acting as a carrier. There we go. Oh yeah, we'll use the same random on that FM source. Oh, that's awesome. Make it bipolar. Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh. All right, one final touch here. We're actually going to use a LFO to modulate the frequencies backwards, because right now at the top here, you see like we're getting some high frequency modulation, but every once in a while we want it to dip into like a really, rich, yeah, like that, right? So we'll use an LFO here. We'll put it in sync mode. I'll make a really long LFO, either 8/1 or 16/1, whatever you like, all right? We'll grab that LFO and drag it over to the cutoff, and we'll put the modulation in reverse by dragging the handle backwards. Oh yeah, very nice. Now let's add some effects. All right, this is awesome. Oh my goodness. Sounds great. All right, we'll add a multi-band compressor here. Oh my gosh. Add some delay. Change it to ping pong. Go dotted eighth note ping pong. And finally, we'll add that same reverb that we created for our dark ambient drone. Now, the way I'm gonna do this is just by copying it over, okay? So we'll go over to Supermassive over here. I'll get out of the way. You can see exactly what I'm doing. Right-click on the actual module itself. We're gonna copy it, and we'll go over to Vital, and we'll paste it right over here. There we go. Excellent. So you can hear now. Oh yeah. With that dark Pallades on there. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's so good. All right, I love it. All right, let's go ahead and make a new MIDI clip here. Doesn't have to be long. This one could just be like maybe 8 bars long. We'll go with F1 here. We'll just draw this all the way across, and every once in a while we'll get a nice hit of high frequency. Back here in Vital, what you can do is you can actually adjust your envelope here. Maybe like 1.5 seconds, lower the sustain down, 1.5 seconds. We'll restart our entire scene. There we go. Yeah, it just kind of chills out the attack. So whatever notes you do put in here, this is going to gently fade in. Just like this. Yeah, I like that. All right, we'll rename this. This is our vital frequency. All right. So we're really getting down to that dark, creepy vibe here. And with the right variation, you know, and the emphasis on modulation, because I said at the beginning, this is all about processing, right? We're really getting something nice here. I love the Pigments drone, love the vital frequency thing we just did. Again, you could go 10 levels higher than this, add another oscillator, add more FM, more modulation, more effects, maybe some chorus, maybe some flanger, phaser, whatever you like. Go crazy. It's vital. It's free. Amazing, even in 2025. All right, now let's add a couple audio tracks to this, because you know where I did in the example track at the beginning, I started off with like a nice dark drone and some vital frequency. Then I started getting into like audio, and I was like, wow, it sounds really good with just some samples, you know? Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna make 2 new audio tracks just by hitting Control T, okay, instead of Control Shift T. That makes 2 new audio tracks. We'll put these through the synth bus here. And what I'll do is I'm gonna grab a sample from the free to use sounds library. I always leave a link to this library down below in the description of all my videos, because I've got a discount code for it, and you know, you guys can get it. It's super cheap, and it's like the best free sounds library on the internet, bar none. This is from the Spain collection, and it's just this weird sample of like a pump of some kind, like a water pump. Hear what it sounds like. Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and solo this. Now obviously you want to leave this warped, meaning it's going to loop over and over again. But you know, you can adjust the pitch of it if you want, reverse it, whatever you feel like. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to use Infiltrator 2, the multi-effect from Devious Machines, to process this sample so we get the most out of it. And I think the best way to understand Infiltrator 2 is to break down one of the presets, right? So let's go ahead and add Infiltrator 2. Again, you could use Beam here if you want, anything, right? The default preset is just a low pass filter, okay? But if we open up the presets here, we'll go to the atmospheric collection and just select Eerie. It's a really good one. So you can hear this is like really creepy, right? Right away. And we get up the mix here if you want. But you can kind of see what Infiltrator is doing. So this is an MSEG, or like a, you know, just basically a custom LFO. And it's moving this bandpass filter in a sideways motion over the course of 2 bars. So each effect slot right here, we have 10 effect slots. Each one of them has its own dedicated MSEG. I can click through here. You can see this is like the Decimate, has its own MSEG. This is the ring mod. It's doing its thing, right? So what we'll do is we'll actually put our own little low pass filter here, and we're gonna modulate this. So how do we do that? Well, what we gotta do is draw something up here in the MSEG window. We'll draw a triangle and lower down the speed to like 8 bars. And then we'll lower down the amount with this knob right here. And there we go. So what we're doing is, because this is in slot number 8, it's basically low pass filtering everything that came before it. But in the context of our track, listen how this is going. You have all this modulation, and then every once in a while, that sample starts to come back. Real creepy like, watch this. It's gonna come up, it's gonna start letting those higher frequencies out. Right there. I love that. Oh yeah. Now Infiltrator has its own set of reverbs, you can use that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm actually use the reverb from earlier, the super massive reverb, Dark Pallades, so I'll copy this over. I'll paste it right after Infiltrator over here. Oh yeah. Let's hear what this sounds like. There we go. So it's the combination of all these different modulation sources. That's what makes really good dark ambient. You know, last video that I did, the last dark ambient tutorial, you guys said, oh, I wish it was more like Lustmord. So I did my homework and I went out and I listened to Lustmord and I was like, okay, you can make it more like that, but really it's up to your own imagination to build these sources of modulation, to use these effects in this way, to get that sound out of it. That's what it's all about. And you see, with just like a couple synths, a free sample, like, we're halfway there. I'm not saying this is as good as Lustmord, but hey, you guys are learning. Anyway, let's go ahead and use one more sample. I've got another sample in mind that I want to show you guys. So, Luftdrum put out a free field recordings library. I think most people by now know about this library. It's like over 10 years old. And those hydrophone samples are really good for dark ambient, right? So let's go ahead and grab a hydrophone sample. You know, I met Luftdrum in 2014. He showed me his whole microphone setup and he explained how he does it. It's really cool, but listen to this in context, right? This is the Hydrophone 1 sample. As you can hear, that adds some high frequency to our track. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna mangle this sample with Infiltrator 2 again. I think the second best way to understand Infiltrator 2 is to roll your own preset. So that's what we're gonna do right now. All right, so grab Infiltrator 2 if you got it. And what we're gonna do is we're going to use the low pass filter, and instead of low pass filter, we're gonna change it into a high pass filter. I'm gonna go ahead and solo the track for you so you can see what's going on. And we're just gonna focus on the high frequencies here, because I think that's what's important with the sample. So that's good, you can adjust this to taste. Now what we're gonna do on the second effect slot, we'll add an FM here, kind of give it an electrical charge, if you will. About right there. And this is really gonna play in when we start pitch shifting it in just a second. So we can adjust the amount here. Nothing like some frequency modulation. That sounds good. All right, cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pitch shift it. Now with Infiltrator, you can pitch shift up to 24 semitones, right? So I'm gonna grab a pitch shifter right here, and I'm gonna crank it up to the right. Now, I can hear that that's not quite an F note, right? It's almost there, not quite. But what you can do with Infiltrator is you can actually add another pitch shifter after that. So I'm gonna add another pitch shifter and then find that F note. It's about right there. Right there. I'm gonna unsolo the track so you guys can hear it. Yeah. So that's like a really high, buzzy F note. You can adjust your FM to taste here. Oh yeah. Great. So now we have 2 pitch shifters in a row. The 24 semitones, the 2 semitones bringing us up to 26 semitones. That's perfect. Now the final step here, check this out, is we're actually gonna draw our own MSEG, right? The effect that I wanna use here is Varispeed. Now when I hit Varispeed, you can see nothing happens. Why? Because with Varispeed, what we're gonna do is we're going to draw our own MSEG, and that's gonna start moving the speed left and right or slower and faster, all right? So up here at the top, you can see that we have a random modulator here. We can just draw random shapes. There's 4. There's the line, the triangle, the square, and just the random one. Let's use the random one. And you can hear what that's doing. It's modulating the speed, right? I love that. So you can kind of click this as many times as you want. Find a nice random MSEG. That sounds so cool. I love it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna change the grid to 32, all right? And we're going to change the envelope to repeat. All right, and now we can change the speed of our MSEG to like 4 bars. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now let's unsolo it. So you see, with just a nice long, slow MSEG and that Varispeed with the random MSEG shape, that's perfect because it gives us enough variation where it doesn't feel like it's repeating or on a cycle. Oh my God, I love that. Final touch, icing on the cake here. Let's grab the same preset from Aster dark Pallades. We're gonna copy it over and paste it after Infiltrator. Oh yeah, switch the mix to around 50%. Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. So as you can see, with the right amount of processing and modulation, add some sound design in there, that's dark ambient, y'all. Hopefully this was lust-moored enough for you guys. I mean, I took that comment to heart and I'm like, yo, we can do that. We can do that here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you want more tutorials like this, I am on Patreon. So I do tutorials like this every single week. I do 3-part series every single month. I mean, we do all kinds of tutorials. Ambient, dark ambient, space ambient, you name it. Mixing and mastering, it's all on there. I would love to have you part of it. We got a wonderful community over there, and yeah. On and on to the future we go, you guys. This has been a really fun one. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. And until next time, take good care, and as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and we'll see you guys in the next video.